This is the Louie Tee Network.
In the L.A.B room.
Exclusive.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this program. When you're chasing a monster that never sleeps, of course, I'm talking about the National Football League. You don't get breaks. You don't get time off to take a breath and catch yourself. You gotta keep on trucking. As soon as the Super Bowl was over, if you're an NFL executive, a GM, you don't have time to rest on what you accomplished last season. You don't have time to sulk over what you didn't get done last season. You have to immediately turn your attention to the scouting combine. Then you have to turn around and while focusing on the scouting combine, you need to divulge some of your attention to the impending free agency that's right on the heels of the scouting combine, after which then the draft is not too far after. And after you get your draft settled, then you got to have all of these little camps, all the little training sessions, and the roster starts to come together. And that's when you start training camp, and we do it all over again. It's a vicious cycle, one that we all love. So everyone wants to talk about the draft. They're asking me, when is the mock drafts coming out? Hey, hold your horses, pump your brakes. You got to go through free agency first. That's the first and most important thing in front of us right now. You got to have tunnel vision when you're talking about the offseason in the National Football League, because so many different things are happening that if you focus on one that's too far ahead, you'll miss something that's clearly right in front of your face. And that is free agency right now. That's the elephant that's in the room. You've got the combine and you've got the draft sandwiching in between free agency. And so we need to pay close attention to free agency, or as I like to call it, the market. And so I'll be giving a quick look back at the season of each team in the National Football League, then giving you a brief synopsis of where each team is in terms of free agents, their amount of salary cap available, and you know that's a very fluid number. And then we'll continue to move on, and that will kind of push us toward the direction that we need to be moving toward, which is free agency. So it'll kind of be a prep for free agency, and I'll be covering the scouting combine, of course. I'll be giving you in-depth coverage of the draft. You know that. That'll come at a later date and time. Keep in mind, they pushed the draft back another month this year. Normally the draft occurs in April. This year, it's going to be in May. So I'll be doing 2-a-days to prep you on what to expect from free agency, 2 teams per day. As you know, oftentimes free agency indicates what your team is going to do in the draft. If you need a safety going into the offseason and you take a safety in free agency or 2, then chances are you're not going into the draft looking for safety help. So keep in mind that what your team does in free agency will heavily impact what they do in the draft. So this will be a 10-minute or less series. This is akin to the 5-minute or less series that I usually do in the offseason. So this is going to be a 10-minute or less series, and I'll be bringing that to you immediately because the combine is this week, tomorrow actually, and so combine coverage starts tomorrow. I'll be giving you coverage of that as well as this, so there will be a lot of videos coming out of this channel from here on out. So just buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a very intense and high-paced ride. Hope you join me on this adventure that we call the National Football League off season. Get ready. It's about to kick into full high gear. So it's going to do it for me here in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. It happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. See you in a bit. 10 minutes or less.
In the L.A.B